What's up? This is EJ Stewart.
What if I dropped 40 days, 40 nights?
All you are your words. If there's anything you learned about me, I'm going to keep it 100 with you.
My skill shot will hold for your city for 40 days.
Rest in peace to all my ops.
Let's go!
Let's go is right. What's up? This is EJ Stewart. You were watching 40 Days and Counting, where I do 2 live stream shows per week. One Tuesday at 6 p.m., one Friday at 8 a.m. This is, of course, the 8 a.m. version. Thank you guys so much for rocking with me this morning. And we got plenty to get to in this show, including still coming down and trying to make some sense of what we saw on Wednesday night in Game 4 of the NBA Finals, where you had both a historic comeback and a historic collapse when you talk about the Knicks overcoming a 29-point deficit against the San Antonio Spurs to win Game 4, take a 3-1 lead. That series now shifts to Game 5. We'll talk about what we should make of that Game 4, plus what we should expect for a Game 5. Can't wait to talk NBA Finals. We'll also talk plenty of football in this show. We're talking quarterbacks. And, oh my God, let's see if I can find the sound. And there's a million things here. But you know how I feel about quarterbacks because everybody knows a quarterback, as the great Malik Wright would say. And we're going to be talking quarterbacks today because we got some good commentary and good quotes coming out of Tampa Bay regarding the future of Baker Mayfield that I really didn't think about because Baker Mayfield has been the Bucs quarterback for a while now. He's played really well, but he's in a contract year. They have not signed him to an extension. There is no guarantee he'll be in Tampa beyond this year as of right now. And the word about where he's at in terms of his negotiation is they're nowhere close, apparently. So, interesting enough, talking about the Tampa Bay situation, we're going to hear from head coach Todd Bowles on the contract situation going on between Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. We're also going to hear from new offensive coordinator Davis Webb, who was hired and promoted within the Denver Broncos, because he's talking about Bo Nix entering his 3rd year and makes a very lofty comparison for what he expects from Bo Nix, in large part because of an offseason acquisition they made to bring in Jalen Waddle. So, you know I love talking to quarterbacks, and I finally found my sounder because when EJ's talking quarterbacks, you know it's important because
Everybody knows the quarterback.
everybody knows the quarterback. So everybody knows Baker Mayfield. Everybody knows Bo Nix. It's why I think in sports we relate to the position so well. I think it's just the perfect quote. So we're going to talk quarterbacks because, once again,
Everybody knows the quarterback.
So we're going to talk Baker. We'll talk Bo Nix. We'll also talk a little bit of soccer. I told you, this is a show that's going to veer off in various different ways. I don't know if we've talked soccer yet, but the World Cup's here. For me, it's been a little weird because I'm someone who actually really is invested in the World Cup usually, and I'm really invested in Team USA. With Knicks World and my wedding happening and all the stuff we're doing at Buzzer. We'll talk about where we're live, by the way. But, like, the World Cup has kind of been on the back burner, and then it kind of jumped up and was like, hey, it's here today. It's like, oh, snap. Actually, it was here yesterday. Mexico won yesterday to open the World Cup. And they kind of a weird game. They won 2-0. There was 3 red cards. So crazy stuff going on in that game, but they still won. And we have Team USA making their debut in SoFi Stadium tonight against Paraguay, and the quest to put on for the U.S. in the home field World Cup begins, and we're gonna have a preview a little bit of what to expect from the World Cup. I gotta make sure that reminds me. I gotta make sure I get some. I got some cool soccer friends, people who know their stuff. I gotta make sure I get them on this show throughout this World Cup because you guys are gonna deserve the World Cup commentary that I know you're asking for. I know there are a lot of New Yorkers, a lot of people who love me for my NBA content out here that definitely want to hear talk finals and talk those things, and of course I'm doing that. But once the NBA finals ends and then the draft will end soon after that, like, this country is going to be World Cup so centric so much. I feel like we're in a little bit of malaise because the NBA finals has been so gravitating to not just New Yorkers but to the country. This has been the most watched NBA finals in like 30 years. This is crazy what's happening. So I feel like once the finals ends, then people will remember, oh, right, the World Cup's very important. We should all be invested and watch this too. So we're going to have plenty of fun talking guests throughout the World Cup. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But we're going to talk some World Cup today because, again, Team USA begins its journey. And then we'll shift away from sports completely. we're going to be talking a little bit of DC because there was some kind of mini news that was broken. It was news that was rumored and things that had been, kind of whispered and reported, but not officially confirmed. But we now have confirmation that a Wonder Woman movie is being in development and is being written right now. In fact, being written by the woman that it wrote Supergirl, a movie that has not come out yet, but we will be seeing very soon. So I'll give you guys my thoughts on what I would want to see from a Wonder Woman reboot. So plenty of things to do here on 40 Days and Counting. Streaming live multiple spots, including on YouTube. Of course, New Generation Media is the YouTube page for you to check out these episodes of 40 Days and Counting. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you comment in the comment section. Make sure you join the chat. Whatever you want to say, I want to hear from you. Let's go. We got Rob DeRay. No, I don't want to ban Rob DeRay. I don't know why you asked me to do that. I want to put Rob DeRay up. Shout out to my good friend Rob DeRay, always in the chat. Let's go. We in Wemby's head. Knicks fans forever. Yeah, we're gonna talk a lot about Wemby and the whole situation regarding that game. A lot was going on in that game. We got to talk about it plenty. I know I've done a ton on Orange and Blue Bloods, but of course, there's a little bit of different audience for this show, so I want to make sure this show gets all the flowers it needs to hear from me in terms of what I thought about that game and where the series is going. So, yeah, we're going to talk a lot about Wemby today. If you want to join the chat, get in the chat, YouTube. There is a chat on X. Most of the time it shows up. Sometimes it doesn't. I don't know why. But if I do see it, I, of course, will put up the comments on X. We're live on X, EJ_Stu is where I'm at on X. Make sure you follow me there. We're also live on Instagram Live. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, ActionEJ. Join the chat there as well. That chat is a little fussy, but I actually have the chat up right now too, so I can see your comments. If you comment here, I won't be able to put you up. I can at least shout you out in the comments. Shout out to Mass1505. Always joins the show when I'm live, so I always appreciate him. He's already jumped in, so thank you guys for watching. And we're live on Buzzer. Again, if you have not signed up for Buzzer, what are you doing? This is the next big thing when it comes to sports social media and sports content. You want to get away from X with all the noise and all the nonsense, the bots, the aggregators, the rage baiters. Head over to Buzzer, where it's all verified sports content creators, verified reporters, verified hosts, verified anchors, and verified athletes, which is what makes it really cool. You don't have parody accounts, you don't have, again, aggregators, you don't have rage baiters, and then the fans who sign up, just like you, are also all verified. So it's a really cool spot. We're doing a lot of live content. We're doing a lot of new content. So that's the place you want to go. We're revving this thing up. It's been a great journey so far, and I want you guys to get signed up. Just sign up. Go to buzzer.com or download the Buzzer mobile app. BZZR is what you'll be searching, and that's how we spell Buzzer over there. And make sure you sign up because, again, it's the real deal. So 40 days and counting coming at you now. Once again, you want to comment, you want to talk Knicks, you want to talk anything happening in the world of sports and pop culture, jump in the comment section and we'll have a good old chat. Otherwise, let's begin this show, and we got to talk about Game 4 of the NBA Finals. The Knicks winning. The only way to describe that game was miraculous. It was a miraculous comeback for the Knicks, down 29 points, down to 27, I believe, at half. A game where the Spurs were just thoroughly outclassing the Knicks in the first half. And it was one of those games that felt like a real tonal shift in how we viewed these two teams in the series. You kind of watched this game and said, in the first half, and this is I'm not saying I maybe felt this, but I think a lot of people felt this way. And I definitely had the thoughts of, okay, Knicks have played great. They've been a gritty team. They fought this entire season. They obviously destroyed the Eastern Conference. But, okay, now we're seeing, the step up in competition. And we're seeing that perhaps the ceiling that the Spurs can get to, the Knicks can't get to. And this is going to be trouble for them the rest of the way. Yeah, Stefan Castle before this game saying that he expected the Spurs not just to win Game 4, but to win the next 3, which seemed very confident and borderline overconfident. And you're looking at that halftime score, and you're looking at how well the Spurs are playing, and you're starting to wonder, man, are they really like this? Is this really how the rest of the series is going to go? or at minimum, even if this is not the rest of the way the rest of the series is going to go, is this going to be kind of just a consistent uphill battle for the Knicks to beat this team, even though they were up 2-1. They had to come back in all the games that they had won up to that point. And sure enough, they were going to come back in the third game that they won in this series, because then the second half starts, and it's a complete flip of the game entirely. And once again, the tonal shift of the entire series with the miraculous comeback that they had, the spectacular play in the second half from Jalen Brunson, from OG Anunoby, who then becomes the ultimate hero, the ultimate New York sports legend, with two plays that will be talked about in New York City forever. And I think it's going to talk about forever regardless of kind of how this series goes, because we talk about Indy Chavez, we talk about Aaron Boone, like the Knicks the New York sports teams have lost in championships or whatever, and plays still get talked about because of just how special they are. This is going to be right above there to lose if they lose. This is just, it's an incredible athletic play on both ends. First, the block on De'Aaron Fox on a ill-advised layup attempt from the Spurs point guard, and then on the Brunson miss from 3, skying through the New York skyline, it felt like, past all of the San Antonio Spurs defenders to go for a tip-in. That was, every time I watch it, I'm like, this is an incredible play. It's a play that if you were watching, like, that if it happened in the second quarter, you would still be like, holy crap, that was incredible. And the game would just keep going, and maybe you wouldn't lose sight of it. But I think because of the fact that this was, of course, the go-ahead bucket, like, we've now watched it over and over and over again. And sometimes I still can't believe that he was able to tip that ball in, just because of how far he ran from, how high he jumped, how far the ball was from the basket. This was not like earlier in the game, Victor Wembanyama had an offensive interference that they didn't call, where he, like, just, he's so big and his hands are so big, like, the ball is just over him. He just, like, grabs the ball and just throws it right in. This is not one of those tip-ins, which would have still been spectacular, and we would talk about it forever. I mean, this was, again, like, Superman skying through the metropolis sky to tip that ball in from, again, not a far distance. And to have to do it with that kind of touch and that kind of body control, it's a play that's going to, again, last forever. And I won't say it sealed the Spurs' fate. The Spurs have an opportunity. Cat sealed the Spurs' fate with a play that also will maybe will be forgotten, which was the fact that it was not mentioned in the broadcast because they didn't have a great view of it. I think the broadcast, which was great, by the way, I think they were just, everybody was in shock because, like, they kept not really showing a replay of what happened. I'm like, what happened on that last play? Like, I know the OG play is incredible. We gotta grab OG. We gotta talk to these celebrities. Everybody's in shock. We got to talk about the historical context, but, like, there was a final play in this game. The Spurs had a chance to win, and from my eyes, it looked like they were going to win. I mean, Stephon Castle got open. Josh Hart had a miserable last 2 minutes of this game. He missed a layup that almost killed Larry David. If you saw him on the sidelines, Larry David lost his footing and almost, like, fainted when Josh missed that layup that would have put the Knicks up 1 with less than 2 minutes left. He missed a box out on Stephon Castle that led to the Spurs going back up by 1 late in the game for OG Anunoby's tip-in. Like, he got beat on what would have been a lob to Stephon Castle. Stephon Castle has a 40-inch vertical. There's no reason to believe that if that's not a good pass, he's not dunking that ball. I will never know if the pass was great because Cat tipped it, but the ball didn't even get close to Stephon Castle, and Mitch actually almost stealing the ball. Mitch Robinson actually ended up almost stealing the pass. And then, of course, Stephon Castle was contested with 1 second left. Couldn't get a shot off, basically. But, so Cat's play, also a massive play that he was able to get a tip. Great coaching adjustment by Mike Brown to put Karl-Anthony Towns on the ball. So you have a 7-footer on the ball. And then you had, Mitch Robinson guarding Wemby on the play. So, what a game. And when we talk about that game, it's really a twofold deal. Like we've talked about, like a lot of people have said. There's the Knicks part of it, which this is a team, this is what they do. They're 5-3 in the postseason in the last 2 years, when down 20 points. I think I saw a stat saying, like, the rest of the NBA and for teams that have been down 20 points, they're like 4-72 or something insane. Like, this is a team that when down 20 points, it's like they got you right where they want you. I have never seen a team like this before. Like, this is not, and this is no longer an accident. Like, people, with every one of these games, it's been like, oh, that was luck, or oh, the team let the foot off the gas. And like, some of that stuff, of course, is happening. It has to happen in a comeback. But as for the team making the comebacks, you have to have a special level of resolve and a special level of focus and a special will to win to still overcome that kind of deficit consistently to win these games. That's not, again, if it was so easy, every team would do it, because there are plenty of teams who go up 20 and they put their foot off the gas and they take bad shots and they make bad coaching decisions, but they don't lose. They may end up winning the game by 5, 7, 10, or, ends up being a closer game, whatever. Maybe they still win by 20 because the other team's just not playing well. Some teams just throw in the towel. They'll just say, hey, listen, we're going to pack this one up and let's take this back to the other city or take this to game 5 or whatever. Like, there's something special about this Knicks group that when they get down, they know that they're not out of a game, and that they know they can walk you down, and that a game is never in doubt. And it's so weird because when you think about the teams we say that about usually, they're typically teams that have an insane level of offensive firepower. Like, when the Warriors were the Warriors, you always would say they're never out of a game because they can rattle off 3 or 4 threes in a row, and a 20-point lead becomes 9 in like 2 minutes. Like, and it's real. It's not theoretical with them. It's like, that is actually their ability. That is like their normal disposition. The Knicks are good. They're a very good offensive team. Even like, they're underrated offensively, but I don't think people look at them like the Warriors, and I don't think they should in terms of their offensive firepower. I've talked about the historical context of how they've dominated teams and how it has been similar to the Warriors. But not when you think of their offensive firepower. This is not Kevin Durant, Steph Curry out there. We in their prime. Like, we understand that. So that's what makes it so bizarre, is that this is not a team where you look at, like some of the better, more high-powered offensive teams in history of the NBA that we've used that kind of language with when we say, hey, you're never out of a game when, again, the Warriors are out there, or you're never out of a game, again, with the Lakers, because you still got Shaq and Kobe out there. Like, you don't say that about this Knicks team, really. So that's what makes that aspect of their dominance, and particularly their aspect of their ability to come back from games, so unique. It's a testament to their competitiveness. I wish I had the sound. I don't have it. I'm gonna maybe do a quick search, only because what's bothered me throughout the entire season is, again, narratives get. The thing about narratives is you can just kind of say something, and because of people's willingness to agree with contrarian views or willingness to like engage in hot takes, narratives can take a form of life that aren't based in reality. And one of the narratives about this Knicks team that has been spoken about, and I have combated on this show, I've combated on other shows I've done on WFAN or on your Blue Bloods, is this idea that this is a team that doesn't do well with adversity. It was one of the most insane narratives I could have imagined about this team for someone who follows this team. My thing was like, I'm sorry, like, have they not won a title? Yes. Have they come up short? Yes. Like, do they always play the smartest? No. Like, have they suffered incredible heartbreak? Of course. I think to say that this is not a team that overcomes adversity, which is something that was said by multiple media members and people who talk about this team and people who have doubted this team, it was so weird. I'm like, I've seen this team make massive comebacks. I've seen this team overcome terrible injuries to find a way to still compete at a high level. Maybe they're just not good enough, and that's a debate. Like, that's a debate that's subjective, and up until this point, we're one win away from maybe that going away. Up until this point is a point you can still make and you could argue about. You couldn't argue this team doesn't face adversity or doesn't do adversity well. But I want to do this quick search here, because one of the things when you have the people who are doing the hot takes and doing the narratives not based in reality, sometimes you hear those things and you think like, oh, there's some truth to them, or that they take, they kind of end up taking a life for their own, a life for themselves. But when you think about this Knicks team, I just always think about this quote from Eric Spoelstra. Now I'm looking, I think this person retweeted this. I'm trying to see if I can find it. Here it is. So I'm going to see if I can play this for you guys, because I think it's important when we talk about this Knicks team. Because they're the Knicks, because it's New York City, because I think people like to, there's a Knicks for clicks dynamic. So people like to needle Knicks fans with their commentary. They always put a little extra when they want to talk about the Knicks because they know they're not just talking to their general audience. They want to also kind of put the Knicks fans down because Knicks fans will easily clap back. Knicks fans will easily engage. They take that kind of bait. So with all of that out there, I like to think about the people that I respect highest when I think about basketball, and Eric Spoelstra is among the top. You don't get higher to me than Eric Spoelstra. He's an incredible NBA head coach. He's a multiple-time champion, and he has always spoken very highly of the Knicks. To be clear, pretty much since the Tom Thibodeau era started, and really Leon Rose era started. And when you think about the Heat and all that Heat culture crap that I'm not really a fan of because I hate the Heat, but I respect the organization generally. Like, you think about ultra competitiveness, ultra toughness. Like, those are the things that organization embodies. At least they try to embody. Listen to Eric Spoelstra earlier this season. I think this was after a win. They actually beat the Knicks, I think. But this is what he said about this Knicks team in terms of like how difficult it is to put them away and why that's the case.
You have to respect about the Knicks. You have to put them away every single possession. You can't leave anything to effing chance with that team ever. That's what they do. What they have is a will to win. All right, that's what we are developing.
I mean, that's to come from the Miami Heat, an organization that hates the Knicks. Let's be clear. There's long-standing beef that will never be good on either side. Definitely as long as Pat Riley's alive and he's still there. Long-standing beef, always smoke, and Spoelstra talking about they have a will to win. You can't leave anything to effing chance. You have to put them away with every single possession. I mean, you see these 20-point comebacks. You see what they did to the San Antonio Spurs. And I don't know how you don't say anything other than the Knicks are a team that's built with an iron will. Like, that's who they are. That is this team's dynamic. And maybe it's because they don't look the part. Maybe because they don't have rough and tumble guys who will flagrant foul you and stuff like the guys they had in the 90s. But they are as tough and as gritty of a group as you can imagine. And we hear that kind of commentary with someone like Eric Spoelstra, who, again, he said that's a will to win and that they are trying to develop in Miami. Like, they don't have it right now. That's what he was saying during the season. And that's something that, again, that they have embodied their entire franchise over, and everyone loves to, speak so, flowery about Heat culture. He's saying Knicks culture is where it's at. So, what the Knicks are doing probably shouldn't be a surprise. It is a surprise, I think, because people have not been able to separate some of the narratives about these individual players, whether it's Cat being too soft, Brunson being too short, overall not being too good, the Knicks organization still being a clown show. Like, they can't look past that to look at what is actually happening with this team as they are now one win away from the NBA Finals. Then on the Spurs side, like I said on Orange and Blue Bloods, and I'll say here, I do not think the series is over. The Spurs are clearly a very talented team. Basketball's 4 quarters. I'm not going to say that they're the better team, even though they keep saying it. They have to prove that, and they still have a chance, but they're running out of time, clearly. I don't think the series is over because they're very talented. They're capable of beating the Knicks, obviously. They're capable of dominating games against the Knicks, obviously. They are a very good team. The fact that this team is so young and has played this well in stretches is still just incredible. Like, this is this is an incredible young team they've put together in San Antonio. Well, I don't think this series is over. I don't believe that they will win this series. And I have a hard time figuring out a way for them because of how stupid they play down the stretch in games. I cannot imagine a scenario where the Knicks are going to get you back in more close games. They'd have to win 3 blowouts, I think, to beat the Knicks. I just have no confidence that this team is going to execute late in games better than the Knicks, potentially 3 games in a row. I can't see it. Now, they're very talented, and they're able. There may be a capability where Knicks, have the kind of cold shooting they had in that first half, and the Spurs are just playing well and they're humming. And if they're able to overcome this kind of game, and I think sometimes being a young team, it's better to be a young team and have a collapse like that than to be an older team. I think a younger team, I think you're able to put it behind you a lot quicker. I think you're able to not feel like this is my last chance and I ruined it. Like, Josh Hart was speaking. He's the guy I'm worried about in this next game because he was talking in terms that were not wrong, but were very extreme. He was like, OG Anunoby saved my basketball life. Again, not wrong. Had the Knicks lost that game, and then if they end up losing the series, he would have became the John Starks figure of the guy who's, John Starks shooting 2 for 21 in the finals. Like, he wasn't a 2 for 21, but that one huge gaffe would have been something that would have stuck with him for the rest of his career. And it wasn't one, it was multiple, but that obviously this layup is the huge one. Would have stuck with him for the rest of his life. He had, again, a terrible final 2 minutes of that game in terms of just some mental mistakes that he was making. He's a guy that's 30 years old, 31 years old. So there's a reality that he's not ancient, but this is definitely Josh Hart's best shot at winning a title, very clearly. So if he blows it, then that sticks with you. And then I wonder about your mental makeup going into the next game and being able to overcome that. With the Spurs, all these guys are so young. I think and we saw how they rebounded from losing the first 2 games at home. Like, I think there's a chance that they're able to rebound and win this game, game 5. And maybe even win game 6. I don't know. Again, it's a game-to-game situation. There's a chance that they can rebound from all that. But when I think about, again, this is not a team that to me has a high basketball IQ. And this is not a team that is being coached well through tough scenarios down the stretch of games. I mentioned during game 2, during the infamous Wemby throwing the ball off Stephon Castle's back, I said it then. I don't know why Mitch Johnson didn't call a timeout. He did that same crap a couple weeks ago when they were facing the T-Wolves in game 1 and didn't call a timeout, and they went down and got a terrible shot coming down. I didn't understand that then. Didn't understand not calling a timeout after they got the rebound against the Knicks in game 2. And then the way he coached that stretch, not calling timeouts as the Knicks are cutting the lead. I think he called one when they cut it to like 21. And I thought, okay, good. That's a good timeout. Like, that was smart. And then he just, like, it's like he forgot he had him. He just, like, and then he just let the league go from 21 to 18 to 16 to 15 to 11 to 10. Didn't make sense there. Didn't want to give Wemby a blow at any point. Which, I can see some people defending, saying, well, the Knicks were hot and the Knicks were doing well. Like, maybe, he felt like Wemby had to be out there to try to quench that. But Wemby was struggling and he was clearly gassed. Not to get a fresh body out there just seemed silly to me. And then, like, the offense. That's the other thing about the timeouts. Not calling timeout. Also say, hey, guys, we're up 20-something points. We can't keep shooting threes. I know we got red hot from 3 in the first half, but we are a downhill team. So one of the things I hate about sometimes talking about basketball in an analytics sense, or at least people who are only willing to talk basketball in an analytics sense, is I hate how much it just, like, strips away conversation about actual basketball strategy. Because there are people who have defended it, and I don't want to diss Bill Barnwell. I guess on X, Bill Barnwell is, when it comes to football, I think he's one of the smartest people we have in this industry. And I think overall he's an incredible writer. He's someone I respect highly. But, him and I'm sure other people who I've seen on social media say, like, oh, people are upset about the Spurs taking all these threes. But at the end of the day, this is 2026. This is where basketball is played. And, like, they were making shots. Why would they stop taking threes? They were making shots. And the point isn't about, yes, there's an aspect of just simply shooting threes probably wasn't the best concept because of scoreboard. But let's take that away. From a basketball strategy standpoint, you also have to look at their personnel and how they're getting good looks from 3. And if you're a team that is a downhill team and not a team that's a 3-point shooting team, because the Spurs are not. They're an average 3-point shooting team. I talked about that before the series and previewing this series. If you're a downhill team where your best attribute as a team is the fact that you have 3 guards that can get to the paint seemingly at will, and then you have a 7-4 guy who you can throw the ball up to and seemingly score every play, if you're looking for quenching runs and looking for ways to stem momentum, you have to be able to get into the paint. And the reality about their ability to get into the paint and Wemby's presence as a 7-4 guy is once you're in the paint, that then opens up the shooters. That was why they shot the ball so well to start the game. The Knicks couldn't keep them out of the paint. They then got cocky and arrogant with how they were playing because they were making all these threes, and they kind of stopped attacking the paint. They kind of stopped running an offense. And a lot of those threes you saw they were missing some open ones for sure, but they were a lot better contests because the Knicks are realizing they're like giving up threes like crazy. They got to contest much better because these are guys that typically maybe you're not running out on. Like you're not going to run out on Harper, you're not going to run out on Fox, but they were hot. Second half, they weren't allowing those guys to get the cleanest looks that they were in the first half. Vassell, who was red hot, wasn't getting the cleanest looks he was getting in the first half. Like, you're not generating the same looks you were getting in the first half. It's not a simple numbers game of just throw up threes. It's how are you getting your threes and what mechanisms is it going to take for you to do that? In order for you to do that, you got to get into the paint and you got to put rim pressure. They weren't doing that. So for a coach who he has built this team to play a certain way, the fact and that is their identity is that they're a team that gets consistent rim pressure. I said before the series, like the thing I'm most worried about beyond Wemby is the fact that like how do you keep these guys out of the paint consistently? Literally the thing I said before the series. And they just remove that from their strategy when they're up. Again, it'd be different if you're down 20 points. You're saying, we got to get into this game. We got to hunt threes. You're up. Why wouldn't you still continue to put a rim pressure? Why wouldn't you want to continue to get them in foul trouble? Cat had 3 fouls in the first half. He had 2 immediately in this game. It was mind-boggling. So all that to be said, as we head to a game 5, again, and by the way, again, talk about the team IQ, and then your starting point guard is throwing the ball over the yard. He makes a poor decision. He's getting crushed for it, and he should be criticized. In a vacuum, I understand going for an uncontested layup there if it's there. The problem was it's not uncontested. How he didn't judge OG Anunoby was going to be able to make a play on that ball, I don't understand, because OG's been guarding him the entire series. He knows OG's length, athleticism, and quickness. It was just a silly decision by Fox to go for that layup that got blocked, and then he doesn't box out on OG because he's giving a kind of a soft double on Brunson on the last shot. Also doubling Brunson randomly, like you're up 20 points. Why are you doubling anybody? Just play defense. They allowed the Knicks to get good looks that they were not getting from 3 because they kept putting 2 on the ball because Brunson got hot and the coach overreacted. So whether it's Mitch Johnson, whether it's Fox at the point, whether that team as a whole, do I think that team, with how they play down the stretch and how they close in crunch time, do I think that they're going to be able to win 3 games in a row against a team that, as Eric Spoelstra put, you have to put them away every single possession? You can't leave anything to effing chance? Hell no. Hell no. Hell no. I don't think that they can do this. Now, if they play pristine basketball, if they get up in these games and to leads that the Knicks can't consistently overcome, then the Knicks can't keep going down 29 points. They're not going to win these next 3 games if they go down 29 points again. If they're able to do that, then yeah, they can win the series because they have the talent to do so. But I just know with the way NBA Finals works, there's going to be more close games. There's going to be more closing time situations, and I just will trust the Knicks and Jalen Brunson every day and twice on Sunday, though there are no Sunday games in this series. Every day and twice on Saturday, because that's the next game, in those situations. That's just the truth. That's the truth. That's how I feel in Game 5. We'll see what happens, man. I think this is going to be a game where both teams are going to have a major come down. If you're the Knicks, you had guys out there basically crying. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns looked like he was in tears. Jose Alvarado basically said he was in tears. And I get it. I was almost in tears as a Knicks fan after that win, or after OG made the tip in. I had to go. I was like, yo, this game's not over. But like, oh my god, like this is crazy. They might actually freaking do this. It's when you have that kind of high, it's hard to come down. As when Victor Wembanyama said during the Western Conference Finals after they won, and when they were getting ready for the finals, he said, I'm trying to come down from the last series. And he said it after Game 1. I have to admit, it's been much harder to come down from the last series than I expected. So the Knicks are an older team. They're a more veteran team. So maybe there's a reality that they will have they'll be better at coming down from a big win like that. But they're going to certainly have it come down from that. And the Spurs are going to have to try to flush that game and move on, right? Because, you know, when I think about a team shooting that poorly, there's a mental aspect to that. And going home can certainly help. But like again, they're a young team, so you hope that maybe for a Spurs standpoint that it will allow them to flush it a lot easier. But when you're a team and you shoot the ball like that, sometimes there are just stretches where you have to look in the mirror and come into that next game. Those jump shots that were going in just so smoothly in that first half, the arms feel a little heavy. You're aiming it a little bit. Now this pressure of being in an elimination game, this is going to be unpredictable. I keep people saying what's going to happen in Game 5. I'm like, I have really no idea. I can see this going many ways. I can see this being a Knicks blowout, where the Spurs just blew their chance at really making this a series. I can see the Spurs coming in and playing hair on fire, desperation, season on the line. They can't lose the game, and they win the game. I can see the Knicks winning a close game where the Spurs, again, throw up on themselves. The scenario where the Spurs win a close game where they execute better than Knicks down the stretch is one I'm having a hard time seeing with how they have been performing down the stretch in these games. That's just the reality. They've only had one game where they performed well down the stretch. Even that game, they kind of almost blew it. Like, they took a desperation Stephen Castle 3 and a shot from, Fox over OG Anunoby that was contested. Otherwise, they might have lost that game. So, the Knicks are definitely in the driver's seat. This has been an awesome NBA Finals. 2 years in a row, we've had awesome NBA Finals. This last one obviously went 7. I don't know if we're going to 7 here. I would not bet on that. I have personal reasons why I'm certainly hoping that doesn't happen, and I'll get those personal reasons maybe once the series ends. But beyond just the fact that I don't know if I can make it through a Game 7. That's the reality of it too. But what a series, man! This has been an awesome series. Again, like I said, Game 3 of this series, I saw was the most watched NBA Finals game since 1998. I'm talking about Michael Jordan, astonishing with how much the NBA has had to fight the allegations of bad TV ratings. How the TV ratings in this NBA Finals, again, has been historic. Again, largest Game 3 audience for an NBA Finals game since 1998. 23 million. 0.8 on average. The peak of this NBA Finals Game 3 was 26 million. I mean, it's not Super Bowl numbers or anything crazy like that. But, I mean, those are like NFL regular season, like Monday Night Football, Saturday Night Football numbers. Dallas Cowboys on a Sunday weekend at 4 numbers. That is crazy. It's just, I'm looking at those numbers like that. You got a big market in New York, and I'll tell you, living here, everyone is invested in this. Everyone is locked into this. So I know that there is certainly a major boost there. But I don't think it's just New York. Everyone is locked into this series because of how captivating the stories are. New York trying to win his first title since '73. Victor Wembanyama trying to do, what has seemingly been the impossible outside of Magic Johnson, which is to kind of in your first playoff performance as a 20-something-year-old, go out there and win an NBA championship. So much on the line. What a series. Can't wait for Game 5. That's tomorrow, Saturday, ABC, 8:30 p.m. Let's keep the ball moving, and let's head over to the NFL, where I think an interesting dynamic is unfolding in Tampa Bay. So it's one, I'll be honest, and I will say again, I've been in Knicks land. Now, I haven't been able to only be in Knicks land because I've had to prepare for a wedding. I've had to do Difference Makers, my NBA draft show, my brother Kendall. If you love NBA draft stuff, make sure you watch that. We're on live every Thursday, though. This was probably the last Thursday. We were on live last night. It's probably the last Thursday we'll be on for in a while because of the wedding and all those different things. But follow me on Buzzer because we will be live again doing more NBA draft stuff. So NBA draft stuff's been fun, but to be honest, I haven't really been locked into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback situation, to be honest. And part because I kind of figure, Baker Mayfield is their guy. They're going to continue to move forward. Now, Todd Bowles is someone who, quite frankly, I'm surprised he still has a job. I'm not trying to get someone fired here, but I thought with the way that season ended that he was probably going to be gone, and he's still there. But when you think about the future of Baker Mayfield, that future is murkier than you probably would realize or remember or think, because he does not have any years left on his contract beyond this season. This is it. Baker Mayfield, remember he signed that 3-year, $100 million contract a couple years ago. It kind of was like, it was thank you for playing well, but still kind of approve it. They didn't give him the huge money he probably was looking for. So I think a lot of folks are saying, he was almost, midway through the season, we were talking about he's the MVP. It seemed like he had kind of cemented himself as the quarterback of the future for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and as their franchise quarterback. But like I said, there's no contract. And according to Baker Mayfield and according to the people reporting out there, they're not close. Not even close to a contract. This is, again, a guy who signed a 3-year, $100 million deal. But the Bucs are not anywhere close to what we were thinking in terms of regarding a contract. That was what Baker Mayfield had said last week. So no deal is close. It could be posturing here in June. But I do think there's reason to maybe be questioned whether or not they want to move forward with Baker Mayfield. Here's Todd Bowles on asking about whether Mayfield's contract dispute is impacting him at practice.
It hasn't. Baker's business, he's all about business. The contract stuff takes care of itself. That's the business side of it that you don't see, that everybody has to deal with, and I'm sure he'll take care of it, but it doesn't affect his play.
Okay, so Bowles saying it's not affecting his play, but now there's a question because this is the final year of his contract. And does Bowles, does the organization, does he in his eyes feel like Baker Mayfield should remain the quarterback for the Buccaneers long term? He was asked that.
No question in your mind, at least, that you want him to be the quarterback going forward in this football team, right?
Absolutely, no question.
So he says no question Baker Mayfield, he would want to remain the quarterback. I don't know if Todd Bowles' opinion really matters that much, though, to be honest, because I think he's kind of in a lame duck situation. I think if the Bucs don't win the division and make the playoffs, he will certainly be fired. There's just I don't think there's any bones about it. If for a division that's so weak, a division that they seem to have in the palm of their hands and it slipped a large part because of injury, but still it slipped out of their hands. They had a terrible loss on Thursday Night Football to the Falcons late in the season that really kind of sank their team, and again, I thought was going to be the tipping point for Bowles being fired. I think when you think about where the Bucs are, Bowles could say he may want Baker Mayfield long term. I don't know if he's going to be around to make that choice. Because, again, if they don't make the playoffs, and I don't even know if make the playoffs is simply it. Because if they're like 9-8 or 8-9, they make the playoffs, lose in the first round, they definitely still could say we're going to move on from Todd Bowles. He's been here long enough. We've kind of seen the best of this situation. Which then brings me to Baker Mayfield. And I wonder for Tampa, and it's the calculus that I think every team, if you have a quarterback, even the thought of a quarterback question has to consider, is given how talented this draft class is expected to be, what I will always say with the caveat is we just don't know. We have to watch the guys play. And there's years where we think there's going to be great quarterbacks coming out, and then, they don't play well in college football, and therefore their draft stock lowers. They actually don't end up entering the NFL draft. It's all different things that can happen. So there's a lot of variables. But the truth is, when you have a class that can include Dante Moore, Arch Manning, Darian Mensah, now Brendan Sorsby, we have all these quarterbacks that people are looking at and saying that there's so much potential first-round talent in college. And you look at a Bucs team that has been stuck in the middle. They have been in what we call sports purgatory, where they are not good enough to seriously contend for a Super Bowl and not bad enough to ever get a high draft pick to probably get a difference-making player that they need. You have that tough question of, is it time to hit the rebuild button with what we have here? Or is it time to, look towards the future when it comes to quarterback to see if we can find the guy who really is going to take us over the top, because we don't think Baker Mayfield is capable of that. And I don't think those are bad questions, and I don't think those are things that you certainly shouldn't consider. Baker Mayfield is the kind of guy if I did want to keep him, I'd be wary of being super contentious in a contract dispute. He seems to be the kind of guy that, Bowles is saying his business is business. He knows that, and he's going to be a professional. He is now. I would love to see if they're in training camp and he doesn't have a contract and he's getting asked about how he handles it. If he comes into the season playing without a contract, how he handles that. I would love to see that. We've talked about all this great growth of Baker Mayfield as a person and as a player, and I think we have certainly seen it in many aspects. But as well as he has played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I think he has played really well for them, you know he feels a way that he can't just walk into that room and say, hey, give me $45 million a year for the next 4 years, and like, I'm good. And they're saying, not so fast, partner. You know he feels a way about that. You know because he's someone who he plays with a chip on his shoulder. He remembers every slight. That's what fuels this guy. So he's the kind of guy, if I did want to keep him, I'd be wary of playing a real extreme game of chicken, because if he does go into a situation where he's like, you know what, I'll just go into free agency. Well, Baker Mayfield becomes a free agent. Somebody's going to sign him. Somebody's going to want to give him money. Somebody's going to look at what happened with Sam Darnold last year, who, obviously had the one good year in Minnesota and turned that into a Super Bowl championship with the Seahawks. And his copycat lead, people will say, for those who can't find their Arch Manning and Dante Moore in the draft, people may say, hey, we can't get the guy in the draft. Like, maybe we could find our Sam Darnold, the guy that we're a good team. We just need a quarterback who can get us over the top. And he doesn't have to be an elite guy. He just has to be a guy that can deliver the ball to the guys and get our playmakers involved and let the defense do their thing. There are going to be people that are going to look at Baker Mayfield and say he fits that to a T. So, and the guy, ironically, who was drafted ahead of Sam Darnold in that same draft, just a couple of picks after him. So, I'm so fascinated by the Tampa Bay situation. If I'm being real about what I would do, Baker's 31 years old. He's someone that's battled some injuries. Injuries were a lot of the reason why I think his play tailed off. Again, he was playing his ass off last year. And then he got beaten and bludgeoned to a pulp because they couldn't block anybody. He had so many injuries to their offensive line. And then his season just seemed to change. It just flipped in the worst way possible. And he never really recovered. That Rams game midway through the year, you remember he got slammed on his shoulder. That was a tough stretch with the season, and they lost 3 out of 4. That was the 4 out of 5. They lost. That was the 4th out of a 4 out of 5 stretch, and it was It was in the middle of a. They lost 7 out of 8 at one point down the stretch of the season. They were miserable, but he was playing pretty banged up. I think he's a smaller guy. He's not at this point in his career not going to beat anybody with athleticism. I would have questions about signing him to some crazy long-term deal and paying him top dollar. This is a Bucs team that I don't think is a definitely not a team I look at and say this is a finished product. This is a team that has holes. They tried to help with the drafting of Ruben Bain, which I think was a great pick, but and Emeka Egbuka as a rookie came in and was great. I think you could have a question about whether or not they have enough of wide receivers. They just lost Mike Evans, and he was a stalwart there. Is Chris Godwin going to be healthy enough to consistently play? Is Jalen McMillan going to be healthy enough? Again, these guys that have battled injuries. Offensive line has had issues. They certainly could use some depth there. I mean, they're going to need to. This is not a finished product. This is not a team that I think comes in that is definitely the favorites to come out of the South. I like the Alex Anzalone move. I thought that was a really good move. I think he's a really good piece to fit Todd Bowles' defense. But at a certain point, you have to make hard decisions. And I just think there are too many teams that are too hell-bent on, if they have a guy who's even decent at quarterback, to saying, hey, here's all the money in the world, reset the market, and we'll just keep moving forward. When you have to have real conversations about, like, where are we going with this guy? I would be inclined to take the risk and let Baker play this out. You can franchise tag him if you need to. The franchise tag number is going to be insanely high. But I think I'd be okay with that if I can't come to a long-term agreement. And if he comes out and he plays well, he balls out, and the Bucs are back in the playoffs as an 11-win team, then I don't have a problem really going to him and say, okay, here's the $50 million you wanted or whatever, and moving on. But I think I got to see it. I got to see, especially with a team that has a lot more question marks this year, I need to see that you can lift this team despite those question marks. Last year he couldn't. Part of it because of his own health, and that is a question you have to have from him too. How healthy is he? Can he stay healthy for a whole season? There's some question marks there in Tampa, and it's not a team that I pointed to as a potential NFL draft team when it comes to quarterback next year. Well, all this smoke about Baker Mayfield is making me second guess that. Very fascinating situation following Tampa. Meanwhile, there's the opposite happening in Denver. There is no conversation at all about moving on from Bo Nix, and there should not be. He had a great season. Broncos were the number 1 seed in the AFC. They had a very disappointing end to their season where I thought Bo Nix's play, but even more so, the coaching from Sean Payton did not allow them to go to the Super Bowl. But nonetheless, you got to look at last year as an absolute success for the Denver Broncos and a huge success for Bo Nix. So there's a lot of excitement for the Broncos. And one of the things that the team is looking for is more consistency on offense. This was an offense that, one, could not run the ball, and two, couldn't sustain drives consistently despite Bo Nix having a good year. So they made one of the big offseason splashes this year in trading for Miami's Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle is obviously, if you know anything about him, even in his Alabama days, he's one of the fastest guys in the league. He's a big playmaker. He is somebody that gets hurt, and that's the one caveat I had with the Dolphins wanting to pay him. I was like, I don't know why you pay this guy. They were kind of like the Bucs of the AFC. They didn't have an easy division to win. Of course, the Bills win that division every year, but it kind of felt similar. Where I was like, they're paying Tua, they're paying Waddle. I'm like, does this team look like a team that's ever going to win a Super Bowl? Like, I don't know if committing to all these guys makes sense. So they were able to move off of Waddle eventually to allow someone else to continue to pay that contract, which is what we have now. But there's a team, again, that had some issues offensively despite the great record because they have an awesome defense. Their defense is perhaps, it's them, to me, them and Seattle is the 2 best defenses in the NFL. So as we enter this year 3 for Bo Nix, and he has his new target in Jalen Waddle, who apparently has been lighting it up in the OTAs. I don't know what that really means, to light it up in OTAs, but they say he's been making incredible plays in practice, and he is definitely stood out as he's got out there, which I get it. I mean, their receiving core outside of Cortland Sutton stunk. So I get, you see a Maserati walk into the building, you see him running around and making these plays. Like, oh, crap, we didn't have this last year. So there's a lot of excitement. And Davis Webb was asked about, what he has seen from the Jalen Waddle-Bo Nix connection early. And he makes an extremely lofty comparison for Jalen Waddle and Bo Nix. And that Jalen Waddle guy, I think he likes him a lot.
He's good. He's a really good player. There's some similarities when I was with Josh Allen going into year 3, similar to Bo going into year 3, and we traded for Stephon Diggs. And that was a good year. That was a good 2-year run in 20 and 21 when I was together with them. Just seeing the growth from both players, that time, there's some similarities of what started to happen here. It doesn't mean it's going to. We got a long way to go.
That's pretty lofty. Now, if you remember, as he mentioned, Davis Webb was with the Bills organization as a quarterback. He retired not that long ago. He's kind of shot at the coaching ranks very quickly. Davis Webb was with that Bills organization during those years when they brought in Stephon Diggs, and we saw Josh Allen blossom into an MVP candidate once they got Stephon Diggs. Diggs got there as a receiver who was kind of underrated but was really good, putting up good numbers in Minnesota. Josh Allen was someone who was looking for that number 1 option. As he said, Diggs got there and the Bills' offense became something special. Josh Allen became a special player. All things that are true. And he does a caveat saying, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that is what this reminds me of. And to me, it does make me wonder in terms of like, Davis Webb now, he's the offensive coordinator. He's someone that is going to take on play calling this year, something that Sean Payton is giving up. It's not something he normally does. And it's someone that Sean Payton thinks very highly of. So surely, I'm not sure if he's in the actual conversations with George Payton and Sean Payton and the front office, but I'm sure they're asking him about Jalen Waddle, and he's thinking about maybe in terms of just overall strategy for the offseason. He may have made a point to say, hey, listen, I was around Josh when in his 3rd year they got him a number 1 option, and then he really blossomed. Maybe that could have informed the decision-making by the Broncos to decide to go after Jalen Waddle. That's a reality that could be a part of this. But what I want to highlight on is that really does speak to what I think is the very, very high expectations for Bo Nix this year. And I'll be real, I think there are expectations that I'm not sure he can meet. Bo Nix had a great year. I love his moxie. I love his ability to seemingly overcome like pretty putrid play. Like there are times where like they can't get a first down, he can't complete a pass. But you know what? He's running around, he's competing, and in a close game, he's gonna make the right throw, the right play to put his team in a position for a chance to win. And that's a QB attribute that should not be at all like discounted. But when you're talking about Josh Allen, and you're talking about what Josh Allen's become and the player that he is Bo Nix simply a number one option wide receiver away from being Josh Allen? Josh Allen is 6'5" and 250. He's like a running refrigerator. Shout out to the fridge, William Perry. But like, I don't look at Bo Nix like that. I think Bo Nix, I'm not gonna say he's gonna be a game manager, but I think if you're expecting him to be Superman, while he's had to be Superman in moments for them to win games, I don't think he can be Superman for 60 minutes the way Josh Allen has needed to be Superman for the Bills for pretty much the time since they got Stephon Diggs. And we've seen, Sean Payton say that this guy is a future MVP. I'm just a little worried about the bar for Bo Nix and the expectation of what they're trying to become as a team. Because I thought one of the issues the Broncos had last year as well was their inconsistency in running the ball. Now, J.K. Dobbins getting hurt really hurt that, but they kind of seem like hell-bent on like making Bo Nix a thing, as as Virginia George famously said in Mean Girls. Like they seem like they want to turn this guy into a superstar. They want to talk about him like he's a superstar. They want to talk about him like he's gonna win all these Super Bowls and win these MVPs. And I just for me, and it's in some ways I like challenging the young man to reach as high as the ceiling is in terms of like what kind of player he could become. But I also think you got to be willing to let the player grow into whatever player he's going to become. That's gonna and be able to work around that. The Broncos remind me that they feel like the kind of team this year where if we're talking about week 5 and 6, we're wondering, hey man, like why is the team like throwing the ball over the yard and putting everything in Bo Nix's hands? Like I feel like that's a conversation we're going to be having at some point in the season because of just how lofty the expectations are for him. You're saying that you feel like this is Josh Allen year 3. Sean Payton's already said that he's a future MVP. They fired the offensive coordinator that was there, that had been Joe Lombardi, who had been with Sean Payton basically forever since he started as an NFL head coach. Fired him basically to make him the scapegoat for why the offense wasn't better in the playoffs, why it wasn't better consistently. It feels like they're trying to really, again, they've carved out a vision for Bo Nix to become a certain player, and to me, I just know, given his game, I don't know if that's who he is. I don't know if he's a guy that's throwing for 5,000 yards. I don't know if he's a guy that's throwing for 50 touchdowns a season. I don't think that means he's not a champion. I don't think that because of this team. I don't think that means he can't win a lot of games, win a Super Bowl. I don't think that has to be the situation. But I would just be wary of trying to make this about being the Bo Nix show. When to me, the Broncos' strength as a team is that they're a team. Is that their defense is so good? Is that their offense is functional and can win in multiple ways, whether it's Bo Nix throwing, whether it's him running. They haven't been able to run the ball that well, which is something they need to improve. That's why, again, I'm thinking about the running game. Like, do they understand that they're going to have a better running game regardless of what Jalen Waddle's going to do there? Also, there's a reality that Jalen Waddle is someone that is injury prone. How available is he going to be? Cortland Sutton's the injury prone guy. How available is he going to be? They've done an incredible job rebuilding that Broncos team. I'm still not sold on the vision for who they think Bo Nix is. And I won't be sold on them completely until I think I can juxtapose that. And you're telling me year 3 he's Josh Allen. The numbers actually probably suggest that because Josh Allen took this incredible leap once they got Stephon Diggs. Last year, 3,900 yards. He probably could have gotten 4,000 because he didn't play the last game, if I remember correctly. I think maybe he played a snap or whatever, and then he was gone. 25 touchdowns. He hit throw 11 picks. His completion percentage was 63%. That's okay. 87 QB rating. I don't know. That doesn't scream future MVP to me. It does not. Now, it doesn't mean he can't win a Super Bowl. Eli Manning's had worse numbers than one Super Bowl. So that's what I mean. Eli Manning, the Giants didn't, when they were developing Eli Manning, they weren't saying, oh, we're developing the next Peyton Manning. Like, they kind of learned who Eli Manning was, and they realized, okay, we're gonna have to have a really solid running game. We're gonna have a great defense, and we're gonna have to play a ball control kind of game. Now, if it gets into a shootout, Eli has the ability to win those kind of games, and we need to get some high end weapons that can certainly help him with that. But I never felt like the Giants developing Eli Manning felt like, oh, we need to make sure we're developing an MVP. Like, we're developing a guy that's going to be Superman. I never felt that. Because I think they realized quickly that Eli was not Peyton. I guess that maybe that's my point about Bo Nix. I'm trying to make it clear, and I don't know how clear it is coming across. I think that's what makes Eli Manning's football story so beautiful. Because I'm like, for a guy who had these crazy expectations, who never really lived up to like them in terms of like who he was as a player individually, as a talent, he still lived up to him because of how he was able to become this ultimate winner. Like, Bo Nix to me has all the traits as being like an ultimate winner kind of guy. And it feels like they want to make him a stat MVP kind of guy. And I just wonder for the build of that team if that makes sense given his skill set and given what I think has been the strength of the Broncos. Big lofty expectations for the Broncos this year. This was also Davis Webb talking about Waddle and just how good he is, how impressed he is, and why it's a testament to the whole organization.
Man, he's good, and I've just enjoyed the person and just watching him work. He is a blessing to be around. He is a multiplier. He's a thermostat. Like, very, very good. That's a credit to George. That's a credit to Sean. We don't bring in bad people here. We got really good players, and we got great team chemistry.
I mean, I do agree with that. They have a great team chemistry. They have very good players. They have built a very good roster. George Payton, who was there even before Sean, he had the foundation of some really good pieces. Sean has done a great job as their head coach. You guys have probably heard me on either this show, probably not on this show, but I definitely was crushing him on 40 Days and 40 Nights. Sean Payton, the football figure, the public figure, I think has been someone that is not easy to root for because of his arrogance. You can't at all argue about the results he has brought to Denver. They were a team that was going nowhere. You want to talk about a team that was in football purgatory? That's what the Broncos were. A team that was like stuck in the middle. They had this great defense, never had a good offense, couldn't figure out how to get to that next level. And Sean Payton, the methods were at times unorthodox and at times, I think, again, unlikable, but you can't deny the results. So Broncos are going to be a fun team to watch in a year where there's going to be a lot bigger expectations and a lot more of a microscope on them this upcoming season. Big expectations for Jalen Waddle, Bo Nix, and the entire squad. Going from American football to football, but we can call it soccer, I feel like, here because it's the World Cup and it's in the United States. So, I know a lot of folks will still be saying this is a football World Cup, but here in America, we call it soccer. And we got to talk about Team USA, man. They get going in the World Cup tonight. They play Paraguay in SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. Like I said before, this feels like a weird World Cup. As excited, and maybe it's just because of I'm in New York City, so maybe it's really tough, which is weird because there's games being played in MetLife. This is huge. This is supposed to be even huge here. I'm sorry, the Knicks staying has just engulfed everything in New York. Nothing else in the city that is happening, or nothing in the country that's happening really matters right now. Everybody is only invested in what's going on with the Knicks. So maybe it feels like a little bit of a fishbowl situation, but I also feel like even just the national media and just the temperature of the sports fan here in the U.S., it does feel like the NBA Finals has just taken a lot of oxygen in a way that in past years I don't think it would have. It's been, like I said, a incredibly interesting series, I think, for a lot of people. So I think this Team USA World Cup game may be sneaking up on a lot of fans. It's damn sure sneaking up on a lot of New Yorkers. So, but they play tonight. This is, again, a hometown or home country World Cup for the U.S., first one in decades. When I think about Team USA and their expectations for this World Cup and what to expect, this is the most important World Cup the U.S., I think, maybe has ever had. If soccer is ever going to become one of the major sports here in the U.S., because it is the number one sport by far everywhere else. It is the number one worldwide sport, but yet here in the U.S., it's not even in the top 5. It's growing, and it continues to grow, but that growth has been very small. It's been, it's not bigger than, obviously, American football, not bigger than basketball, not bigger than baseball, not bigger than hockey. I don't think it's bigger than NASCAR. I don't think it's bigger than golf here. I don't think it's bigger than tennis. I probably put it at 8th. Now, there are a lot of soccer fans, and I know for a lot of, like, how do I put this? Like, second generation immigrants, third generation immigrants, who are naturally, who are, American citizens. There are a lot of folks here now who love soccer. Like, one of the most beautiful things I love about I've done various different talks at elementary schools and high schools, and I've gone to my elementary school PS205 to do their career days. And what I've loved about going to those is just how much soccer has become a top sport for youth here in the U.S. Because when I go and I'll ask the kids, like, who are your favorite athletes? The amount of Ronaldos and Messis and Mbappes, the amount of those guys I get as opposed to LeBron or Patrick Mahomes, and I was like, it's stunning. And I live in New York. I live in a serious melting pot. Queens it's a Queens school. I live in one of the biggest melting pots we have in the world. There's no place like New York in terms of the diversity, and Queens is the most diverse place in the world. Definitely in the U.S., arguably the world. Like, so maybe it's a little different. I'm sure if I went to Dallas, Texas, maybe I wouldn't get. Though Texas has a very good soccer community as well. I probably still wouldn't get as many. I probably would get a lot more football figures given how big football is in Texas. But I do think it's just speaking to just how different things are and how soccer has been growing. And I wonder with the youth and their investment in it, that is still much larger, I think, to me, than Gen X, baby boomers, millennials. I think maybe Gen Z is a little more invested from what I've seen, but it's still distant. So how does it get to that point? This is in many ways their moment. I think if the U.S. is going to make soccer a thing in here, they got to go on a run. And I think it's got to be a deep run. I don't, they're in a group right now that I think is going to be very favorable to them to get out. How they do after that's going to be very, interesting. But I think, to me, I think getting out of the knockout rounds is not going to be enough. Getting into the round 16 not going to be enough. Getting to the quarterfinals not going to be enough. I think they got to go to the semifinals. That is going to be a tall task for them to do. But if you're asking me what is it going to take for them to get out of this, get something out of this that's larger than simply people saying, "Oh, that was a fun little journey, and then let's move on." I think you're going to have to see them find a way to make it all the way to like the semifinal round. This has got to become a fever pitch kind of thing here when we talk about the standings and not standings, but like in terms of the excitement around what Team USA is doing. They're knocking off some of the bigger countries, and this is the team I feel like from me following Team USA. This team feels like the team that has probably the most developed talent that has made an impact across the world than any other team that they've had. We've loved the guys that we've had here. We've had legends here with the Clint Dempseys, the Landon Donovans, the Michael Bradleys, Tim Howard. I can go on and on and on about the great players that have played for Team USA. And those guys had good international careers. But this is a team now that has guys playing in the Premier League, guys playing in the French League, guys playing in Italy at a high level. McKinney is one of the best players on Juventus. Like, this is they got real guys now. Like, that was always the big thing for me when we would talk about Team USA and their chances. I'm like, as good as the team is, like, I'm just seeing too many MLS guys on the squad. And I'm not trying to diss the MLS, but we know the MLS is that's like the equivalent in the NBA. I feel like they're playing like in China, probably. It's like there are good players there, but if you're playing against LeBron, Steph, and Kevin Durant in the Olympics, I think you're gonna have a tough time, right? or maybe playing like in Australia or something like that. Like it's still not to the top tier. I said we need to get players who are not just playing well here in the U.S. and playing well for Team USA. We need to get the guys who can go to other places and go to other countries and play club football and find a way to make impacts. Not be guys that are riding the bench, but guys that are starting, guys that are stars, guys that are actually becoming impact players and making a name for themselves overseas. And that's what they've been able to do. Obviously, Christian Pulisic didn't have the greatest club year, but has been, a guy who's been, the most decorated U.S. player ever when it comes to impact they've had internationally. I mentioned Weston McKennie. They got guys now. This is a different era of Team USA soccer, which is why when I think about what we can expect from them this year, the group that they're in is food. I mean, they should easily win this group. Paraguay, Australia, and Turkey. I'm not surprised given the FIFA. I think there's some home cooking. I know it's supposed to be random or whatever, but they definitely want to see the U.S. advance. I think they got a very favorable draw. I think they should beat these teams. So they got to get past these teams. And, then once you get past that, I have to see the standings. So they're in Group D. So let's see how that would work out in terms of the bracket. So they're in Group D. So if they win Group D, they would be playing the third. They'd be playing the team that comes out of. So it's kind of weird. The third best team. So it can be kind of random. It's hard to really tell from here because it's not just simply they're going to play this team in that group. They kind of level it off. There are a couple of groups that third place teams will be able to make it into the next round. So again, I think the U.S. I think they'll get out of the group, but I think they got to go on a bigger run. I think that they're going to have to make this one of those years that we're never going to forget. And I feel pretty good about the team. I like the way they've played. Their midfielders are great. Again, I mentioned Weston McKennie. I mentioned Tyler Adams. These are guys, again, that are now making impacts beyond just the situation with, playing in the MLS or playing, locally. Again, that's all well and good, but to me, we know where the best players are. The question for this team remains in the back end. Well, they're older in the back end. They're less experienced in the back end. They're goaltending. The Tim Howard's not walking through that door. Who's one of the best. He was one of the best in the world as a goaltender. They don't have that kind of goalie coming in. So I'll be curious if they'll be able to keep enough clean sheets. But defense, I think also, will their strikers, I think they're excited about now. Will those guys step up in this stage? Folarin Balogun, the guy who grew up in England and was playing in the kind of the English development system, but then switched over to the U.S. and is, again, he's been a scorer in the French league playing for Monaco. He's been good playing for Team USA. Will they be able to have opportunities to have strikers who can actually come in and make an impact? So many years, the U.S. have gone years. It's been a long time since they had a striker like Josie Altidore, and they've kind of been a team that's been missing that. Like they've had good wingers, they've had good midfielders, they haven't had somebody that can eventually finish. Now they have some finishers with him and Ricardo Pepi. That's going to be the key. Is will they be able to finish with their strikers who can now actually make an impact and have made impacts, internationally, and will their defense hold? That's going to be the biggest question, I think, for Team USA. But I'm just very fascinated about what is it going to take for soccer to become a huge thing here, and is it possible? It's a question that I think a lot of people have that are real questions, and for me, I've always felt like the best way for soccer to make an impact here would be to basically do what the Saudis have tried to do, but do it in the U.S. I've always felt like, as much as we always root for the Team USA and we're always going to be, patriotic in that way, that's just how the country is. Why the Olympics always does crazy numbers here, even if the Olympics feels like it's losing relevancy. Is because people just still will stand behind wanting to see countries face each other and rooting for their own country. And I think also there's an aspect of because this has become such a melting pot as a country, also there are people who invested in international sports also because they want to root for countries they're from. They want to root for Mexico. They want to root for Latin American countries. They want to root for European countries. They want to root for African countries. So this World Cup will be big, especially once this final ends. But I've always felt the only way to really still get the soccer to become a top league here is it can't simply just be big every 4 years. There are international competitions in between, Gold Cups and those different things, but I don't think those are enough still to get the public really invested. What's going to have to happen is I think there's going to need to be, again, the big Team USA run where they actually contend for a World Cup title. Contending for a World Cup title seems like I don't think this is one of the best teams in the world. If they had to ask me who I'm picking, I would probably pick France. But I think or England. I think this might be the year for England too. Those would be two of the teams I would probably look at this year. But I think you guys contend for a World Cup, which means that they're going on a Cinderella run to like the semifinal. And I think you need to do what happened in Saudi Arabia. And of course, don't do it with human rights issues. I mean, just in terms of like investing in like star players, creating a league here. I think you basically need to create a version of the EPL here. And I know we have the MLS. The MLS just isn't good enough. There's enough money invested in it. There isn't enough good players here. There are MLS fans, and I'm not trying to diss the MLS fans at all. MLS is great. I just think the MLS will have to level up to bringing in the top players in Europe and all throughout the world to play here, where you have like truly international superstars in their prime playing here and playing in a competitive league that you didn't have to be invested in. If you could get that, I think you could turn soccer into one of the major sports because there's already enough investment from a lot of, again, immigrants, a lot of second generation, third generation Americans who already invested in soccer because they have family ties outside of this country where soccer is the biggest sport. But I think for those who are naturally born here, who maybe don't have the same familiarity with soccer or football, there's going to have to be some team investment. Like when it comes to the major pro sports, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, I'll put hockey on the side because we do care a lot about hockey internationally. But I'll still maybe slide hockey in there slightly. With those sports, as much as we love the international competition with like the NBA, with like the Olympics now, like basketball after the Dream Team and stuff has definitely become much bigger on the international stage for Americans. And baseball, we've seen the World Baseball Classic and how popular that is, and it's great. We're a country that is still so much more invested in what is basically club sports here. Like in England, the club teams are obviously massive. Like we know how huge soccer is. But at the end of the day, still the World Cup is the biggest thing. It still takes credence over everything else, which is insane because these rivalries within the EPL and within the Spanish league and within the French league they're blood rivalries, which speaks to just how rabid these fans are. Still, the World Cup matters. They still will all unite behind England. Like they still will all unite behind France. Like that's just how it goes. With us, with those big sports, we're more invested in the Knicks winning an NBA championship or the Spurs winning an NBA championship than if LeBron and Steph and those guys win a gold medal. We'll watch it. We'll be invested. We'll be really excited. It'll be really awesome if they do, but it's not the same. Like for England, if you're a Chelsea fan, England winning its first World Cup in like 50 years or whatever that drought is, would still be bigger than if Chelsea won the EPL next year. That's the truth. I'm telling you, if they win a championship this year, that will always supersede any gold medal the Team USA has ever won in the Olympics. So I've always felt like the missing ingredient, even with maybe Team USA going on a crazy run, if they won the World Cup, that'd be massive. I still think that missing ingredient is we need to get top guys playing in a league here so they're not out of sight, out of mind. We're not just reminded of these guys every 4 years. Because there's too much happening, especially in this world. I think it's become a lot harder if you're a casual soccer fan, that's what I would describe myself as. I'm a casual. Let's make it clear. I'm not an expert, but I do love soccer. I do like watching it. But I found myself, it's harder to actually really, I think, keep up with it because there's so much entertainment at our disposal now with streaming services, high-speed internet. I always say this about everything. You compete with everything that I feel like even my, knowledge of how Team USA has been doing leading up to the World Cup and all those different things. Like, it's not the same because I'm now watching traders. I'm watching Love is Blind. Like, I'm watching all this stuff that I probably wouldn't have even given a time or wouldn't even been on TV because there was no such thing as streaming growing up. So I had very little opportunity. So I was like, listen, soccer's on now. It's summer and the NBA's over. Yeah, I'm locked in. I want to know everything happening in Team USA. So that's what I'm looking at. And I think for a lot of soccer, for a lot of casual fans, I think maybe it has been a little harder. Just like it's harder to kind of follow everything because there's just too much. There's too much entertainment. There's too much content out there. So I think to me that's going to be a huge thing, is if they can find a way to get more international stars in their prime, not Lionel Messi at the end, not David Beckham at the end, not these guys that were stars somewhere else but now are 38, 39, 40 coming over here and schooling these MLS guys. That's not going to cut it. We need to find a way to create a league here or put the money in the MLS necessary to like actually make this like one of the top soccer leagues in the world. If that happens, then I think you see soccer become a major sport. But until then, outside of Team USA winning the World Cup, I don't know if it happens. I can't wait, though. I can't wait. I'm also really curious with, like, how, like, what is going to be this home field advantage for Team USA? Like, what is that going to look like? The assumption is you're playing at home. It's, it's going to be a situation where you're playing at home. You have an opportunity to have your fans everywhere. You're going to have a big hometown advantage. There's a time zone difference. It's not going to be a factor. So there's reasons that there are obvious advantages, but there's also pressure that comes with that. So I'll be curious to see just how much that is an impact, because this is it's going to happen this year, and who knows next time if the U.S. will get the World Cup again. Probably another at least 20 years, probably, maybe even 30. So man. Can't wait to see what happens with the World Cup. Happens, it's already underway. Happens tonight for Team USA playing Paraguay. Last story, man, before we get out of here. This has been a fun one. Of course, thank you for watching 40 Days and Counting. If you've been enjoying this show, of course, you can hit me up in the chat on YouTube where we're streaming live, New Generation Media. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like this video. And again, get in the comment section. What do you think? What are your expectations for Team USA? What would it take for soccer to become a major sport here in the U.S.? I want to hear from you. What are your expectations for Bo Nix? Davis Webb, the offensive coordinator, saying that he wonders if there's going to be a Josh Allen-like leap for Bo Nix because of the addition of Jalen Waddle. Is that too lofty? Do you think that's in the purview for him? I'd love to hear from you in the chat on that. Also talking about Todd Bowles and his support for Baker Mayfield and his contract dispute that is, quote, nowhere close at this point in time. We're June, a little ways away, but still nowhere close for a guy who's in a contract year. Should the Bucs commit to Baker long term? And what's your thoughts on NBA Finals, man? Whether you're in the chat or you're watching this later, comment in the comment section your thoughts on what's going on in the world of sports. We'd love to hear from you. But we get to the last story here, which is outside the world of sports, but one that I'm certainly interested in. I love comic book movies. I talk about Marvel, DC stuff, and one of the things that has been talked about largely when it comes to the era of James Gunn running DC Studios has been, when's this Batman reboot happening? When are we going to see Bruce Wayne involved in this world that is being created by James Gunn? We have the Batman, which is a separate world with Robert Pattinson. There's been some word or some rumors or some people hoping that maybe that version of the Batman universe will be incorporated in DC universe that's being created by James Gunn. But that has not been something that's been confirmed, and it's at this point still not happening. The Batman Part 2 that's about to take place and come out next year is going to not take place in James Gunn's DC universe. So we still need a Batman, and we don't have any answers on that yet. The Brave and the Bold is supposed to be the movie that's coming out. That's supposed to be the Batman. And supposed to be him with his son, Damian Wayne. But there's been zero updates on where that stands. There's another part of that big trinity, though, when you think about DC. You think about Superman, Batman. There's also Wonder Woman. And we maybe weren't talking about it quite as much as we were talking about with Batman. But with Wonder Woman, we had the first movie with Patty Jenkins directing and Gal Gadot playing Wonder Woman that was, I said at the time, and I stand by it, a cultural phenomenon. And then the sequel happened. And the sequel was received very poorly. And James Gunn, and the sequel I think is part of the reason why the previous version of DC does not exist. I think that was the one thing they were holding on to, that they could say, hey, listen, you could say maybe we screwed up the Superman stuff and the Batman stuff, but Wonder Woman was a certifiable classic. Nobody could defend. Nobody can go against it. He's like, you know what? That's true. But then in Wonder Woman 84 was such a disappointment, and the direction a lot of people I think didn't like it. It didn't work. That now you go into this new era of DCU, and there will be no Patty Jenkins directing Wonder Woman. There will be no Gal Gadot playing Wonder Woman. We're now entering a new era where we're going to have a new Wonder Woman, but there had been no official announcement about when that movie was coming out. There was a announcement about a Paradise Lost movie or show that was supposed to be about Themyscira and the Amazons, but it wasn't necessarily being described as a Wonder Woman movie per se. Now we know that a Wonder Woman movie, in fact, is in the works, because the woman Anna Nagora, who penned Supergirl, which that's coming out later this summer, she just recently confirmed to Variety, I believe, that she is going to be also writing. Sorry, it was Collider she spoke to. That she's also going to be writing Wonder Woman. Now, this is obviously huge. Again, not something that's been confirmed by James Gunn. So the fact that this is being said means that I feel like there's probably going to be a bigger announcement that's going to come, I would assume, within the next few weeks or months that this is happening. But I think this is going to be a huge thing here for DC to get this right. Like I said before, say what you want about Wonder Woman 84. I liked it more than other people did. I didn't think it was terrible. To be fair, and this is maybe a bad sign for it, it's one of the movies that I watched once and didn't go back to. So that probably tells you maybe it wasn't as great. A lot of the great movies I like, I'll go back to constantly. Like I've watched Wonder Woman, the first one, probably at least 4 times since the movie came out. Wonder Woman 84 I watched once and then moved on with my life, so that probably isn't a good sign. But what I will say is that decision to move on from Patty and Gal was not met uniformly with praise. Like, there was a lot of criticism with that. There was a lot of people that said, say what you want about everything else with DC. Like, Patty Jenkins, okay, second movie wasn't great, but she deserves another shot, and Gal Gadot deserves another shot to move forward with the Wonder Woman universe. So this is going to be a massive situation when it comes to how they handle this reboot. And Anna Nagora, like, keep it a buck, we really don't know what she's about. We have not seen Supergirl yet. We don't have any reviews of Supergirl yet. That's one of the things I can't stand sometimes about, like, movie. It's been a lot of, to be honest, this is a very DC thing. DC does this a lot. They did it with Christina Hodson when it came to Birds of Prey and other movies she had written. Like, they do this thing where they write a movie, they fall in love with a movie, and then they say, oh, you're so good, and this script is so good, we need you to write the next one. Or something different. And when you don't have the feedback from fans of how they actually receive the story and the plot of the movie that they got hired for the first time, how are you actually supposed to know if they're able to have the kind of impact and pen a script that you think that the fans will like for another movie? Like, she's working on another movie, and we don't even know if Supergirl is good yet. I'm excited about Supergirl. I love the story that they're telling about Supergirl, but I'm not 100% sold that that's going to be a great movie. I don't have any idea. So that's always the big risk, and something that DC does a lot. Like, I'd almost prefer that they would, again, spread the wealth a little bit and find other writers, so that in case, Supergirl ends up flopping or not being that good, that you can go to someone else. Okay, well, luckily that person's not writing this next script, because you could love the script and you're in a fishbowl in terms of evaluating your own work, and you could feel like it's going to be a certain reception for the fans, but the fans may feel something totally different. There's probably some strength in writing one strong female-led character and female-led franchise to writing another that you can probably, take in, that I think is going to be probably useful for Anna. But, we have to see if she's actually going to be up to the task of being able to do this. And do this at a high level, because, again, there's a high bar. And I don't mean that bar is not Wonder Woman 84, and I don't think people will compare it to that. That's the reality too. Is it's not like people will say, "Oh, well, this was way better than the last Wonder Woman movie." I don't think anybody's going to look at this Wonder Woman reboot compare it to that. They're gonna compare it to how did the first one go, and if it's not as good as the first one, then there's gonna be problems. So we'll see. Turn to Anna Nagara. I mean, she's most famous for actually as an actress. She has a recurring role in The Vampire Diaries. If you've watched that show, I have not. She's also been a character in the Michael J. Fox show, 2013-2014. She's been in Blue Bloods. She's been in Hightown. In terms of writing, this Supergirl movie is the biggest thing. She's written some plays. She's written some short films. But this is huge that we have. Again, you kind of have a little bit of a question mark. Now, it does not mean it can't be awesome. It doesn't mean that you don't come in. This ends up being one of the best things we have. But she's writing this. There's also rumors that she's also writing Teen Titans. I mean, they've given her 3 projects now. And we don't know how the first one went. James Gunn can't write every story. Like, we know because you could argue, okay, why don't you get someone who did Superman when we know we like Superman? We don't know if maybe James Gunn is working on other stuff. Like, he may not be able to write Superman and Supergirl and all this stuff. But it's a risk. It's a risk. It's something that, again, DC likes to do. I know James Gunn has that kind of, like, writing team with him and Anna and Tom King, and I like the mix he's had. He's got TV people. He's got comic book people. I've been a big fan of what James Gunn has done at DC. So I'll be curious to see how this goes. But I was surprised to see that you had Anna writing a 3rd script here. Not just Supergirl, now Wonder Woman, now also Teen Titans. I'm excited that Wonder Woman is happening. I'm excited that we're probably close to seeing it come to reality. It's not going to be something we're going to have to wait 5, 6, 7 years. Like we saw Superman. One of the criticisms my brother Kendall has had, if you listen to our Hero Talk podcast, we're recording a new one this weekend, so make sure you look out for that. Again, go to New Generation Podcast Network, or just, of course, subscribe to New Generation Media. We post those video podcasts in full. One of the things Kendall's been mentioning is that, one of the things that frustrates him about James Gunn is his focus has not been on the big players in DC enough. And mostly Batman. Like, that's the main one. But, like, we've had the Creature Commandos. We've had Peacemaker Season 2. We did have Superman, and that was huge. But we've had kind of some of the other oddball projects. We have Lanterns, but even the way they're doing Lanterns is very different than, like, what feels like what would typically be a Green Lantern story, or at least what you expect from a Green Lantern story. And I think some of that has been frustrating for him, and maybe frustrating some DC fans. Okay, hearing Wonder Woman's coming, she's one of the big 3 when it comes to DC heroes. That's good, and the fact that it's being written now tells me, okay, we probably get Wonder Woman within the next 3 years. I think it's probably fair to say. But picking the script is everything. Obviously, script. We talk about directors. Directors are huge too, but sometimes even beyond directors, man, like you gotta have a script that makes sense. You gotta have a script that's top tier. So this now puts so much pressure on Supergirl to be good. Like, if Supergirl ain't it, there's going to be a lot of people saying, why the hell is Anna writing Teen Titans in Wonder Woman now? Like, so it's going to be something to follow. I can't wait to see Supergirl. Again, I'm a big fan of the direction they're going in. So that does give me some excitement about Wonder Woman, because I'm like, okay, well, the little things I've seen and the inspiration they're taking from, I like. But the thing that we know about Supergirl is that they're adapting a comic book, a specific comic book series, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. So there's expectations of what the story is going to be if you've read that book. And it looks like they're doing it very much. It's been from what I've seen, it does feel like they're taking a lot of beats from that are very true to the comic, which I love. We don't know what the direction of Wonder Woman is, right? Like, maybe there's a Wonder Woman story that they like that they're going to be inspired by. Like, what I've seen from James Gunn is, when I think about, now, Superman really didn't seem to be inspired by one specific movie. I know he's talked about All-Star Superman. He's talked about a lot of other different books. But with Supergirl, when I think about Brave and the Bold, like, it seems like he is taking, like, these eras of these characters, and I want to bring that to my world. So if Anna's writing to a certain book, it may make it easier to make it really good. But we don't know what the inspiration is for this Wonder Woman movie yet, so we're going to have to see. Can't wait, though. Always can't wait. And that's going to do it for this edition of 40 Days and Counting. Again, I want to thank you guys so much for rocking with me this morning. I'll be back. Well, to be honest, I won't be back next week. I just realized this is the last 40 Days and Counting, for a week. I'll be off. So, no 40 Days and Counting next week because I got my wedding, so I'll be out of town. Really excited about the wedding, of course, but unfortunately, I won't be able to do 40 Days and Counting. So, you won't see me for a little week. Promise, once the wedding dust settles, I'll be back. I really did not mean to sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger there. Just dealing with some allergies, so you hear a little congestion. But I'll be back to give even more Arnold in that. But I'll be back after. We'll have more episodes of 40 Days and Counting. Again, typically every Tuesday, 6 p.m., Friday, 8 a.m. Of course, you can always subscribe to the channel, New Generation Media, to find all new content, find these episodes. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you comment in the comment section. Also, be sure to follow me on XEJ_Stewart, where we're also streaming this live. Make sure you follow me on Instagram as well. Action EJ is where we're live on Instagram. And we're live on Buzzer. Be sure to subscribe to me and find me on Buzzer. Just search EJ205 Prep or just search my name. That's going to do it for this week. I hope you had a great week. I hope you have a lovely weekend. Great sports weekend coming in. World Cup underway. Team USA playing today. NBA Finals tomorrow. Stanley Cup, by the way, getting crazy. Hurricanes one win away from a Stanley Cup final. So that's going to be continue to be a fun series to watch and a fun story to follow with the Carolina Hurricanes versus the Golden Knights. So keep it locked here. We'll talk about it all. I'm EJ Stewart. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Take it easy.